Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti, and like always, a shout out to my biological family, what's going on, to the Universal African People's Organization family, what's up, as well as to the New Life Evangelistic Center family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our cameraman Bob. On that note, we're going to have another real quick, exciting evening in studio with me as part of our 4-part series about international travel. Is none other than my good friend and colleague, brother Malik Ahmed, founder and president of Better Family Life.
It's my pleasure to be with you once again, Brother Zaki.
Absolutely, and I'm just looking forward to it, in terms of our discussion around international travel and why and what have you. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that our audience is aware of the publication that our organization, Universal African People's Organization, quarterly does, and that's the African Newsworld. And I just must say on the top side, we're saying April 4th, 1989 through April 4th, 2019, as the UAPO celebrates 30 years speaking truth to power. We still say a force of 144,000 plus is needed in preparation for the 2020 national and state elections and other social issues impacting our communities. We say all hands on boards, and that's a snippet of members there. And at the bottom half, we also proud to say that as a community activist that's speaking truth to power, that we were able to get 2 St. Louis County police officers fired as a result of us exposing what we consider their wickedness. So to get a copy, you got different establishments throughout the city, and one of the establishments that we have our paper on hand is at Better Family Life.
Cultural Education and
Cultural
Business
Educational Center, and you're located
5415 Page Boulevard.
And we appreciate your support. Yeah. And people, you can also go online by going www.uapo.org. On that note,
well, I want to first salute you, Brother Zaki, for the 30 years that UAPO has been in existence. Your organization have been at the forefront of the struggle in St. Louis, especially around police violence and just any number of things that you have done on the political front, on the social front, and even on the economic development front. Your organization have definitely been one of the leading organizations of activists, of conscious individuals, and I encourage the entire audience to join UAPO because you're definitely on the front lines, and you have been able to link our struggle in St. Louis up with the struggle that's taking place in the United States and around the world, and especially in Africa. This edition of your paper, in my opinion, is one of the best ones that I have seen. I mean, you got loads of information, and our community will do itself a service by getting this edition of the African News and just staying on board with everything that you're putting out. It's a first-class publication, and it has relevant information about what's happening in our community as well as what's happening around the world. So I salute you, my brother, for just the 30 years of struggle that you have undertaken and the dedicated members that you have in the UAPO. They're some of the most dedicated brothers and sisters in St. Louis.
Well, I truly appreciate that, and likewise for Better Family Life.
Yes, sir. Thank
and
you.
The kind of work that you have done over the years. So on that note, though, and we've sat down many times in our private conversations and shared stories of our international travel. I think on a previous show, and this is part 4, and we were sharing how many countries we've been blessed to have stepped our foot on and spent some hours, days, and what have you there. Yeah. And your number is what?
31.
31?
Yes. Yeah. We talked the last time, and I thought it was 35, and then when I went back. I said, no, I was just in the airport in two of those countries. That doesn't count, you know. I should have stepped out of the airport. Went to the restaurant and stuff, so I can claim the country, but I didn't do that in about 4 of the countries. But one of the countries that I did not talk about in our previous conversations is China.
And before you talk about China, I always want to really emphasize to people, why should they travel and why should they get a passport first and foremost, even if they have no travel experience?
First of all, they need to acknowledge that they are a citizen of the world and that everything that concerns black people in America concerns black people, brown people, yellow people, red people, and even poor white people all over the world. And when you travel, you start seeing the haves and the have-nots. They become real. You know, we read about this, but when you start seeing undevelopment, especially in places like Africa, that's the richest continent on the planet Earth, got all of the natural resources that can feed and clothe and industrialize this whole world, and the people are poor. Like, how does that make sense? That has to be looked at as a system in place that keep those people poor. And even with the government, some of them are corrupt. And how does these same kind of people manipulate populations all over the world? What's the bigger, structure in place? And, that structure is capitalism, it's imperialism, it's militarism, is all of those things that we read about from a theoretical point of view, you start seeing in actual reality. Then the other thing is...
And if I could interject, you just took me to, Dr. King spoke to the 3 evils of America.
Yes.
Militarism,
yes.
Racism, and imperialism.
Exactly
what you're saying.
You see it up front. I mean,
right.
You see it up front, and you see how people have been crippled. So it's not just a North St. Louis problem or an East St. Louis problem. It's a global problem. The other thing that is so important about traveling is that you're looking at people that look just like you, that look like you, act like you. And so a lot of times when you travel, you start getting a better perspective of yourself. You start getting a clear idea of what you're capable of doing and how blessed you are with some of the things that you have coming into the developing world.
So on that note, though, I want you to complete that thought.
Sure.
On the other side, we got to take a break.
It's the gifts of caring people like you that help keep the Zaki Baruti Show on the air, dealing with hard issues that we must begin to recognize in our community, issues that are frequently ignored by much of the existing media. And St. Louis and the St. Louis area is a community that's famous for its Jim Crow policies of keeping the people down by elevating the rich and the powerful. I want to encourage you to get a copy of the book Through the Fire as you share your gift of $10 or more to help keep Zaki's program on the air and directly help the hurting and the homeless. This book goes into great detail of how the bigotry and the self-centeredness of the rich and powerful it was implemented through the politicians to drive the homeless out of the area by shutting down the work of New Life Evangelistic Center. But the work isn't shut down. It's moving forth in many other different locations. It's moved out on the streets among the people, and it's working to get back into 1411 Locust, all of which is made possible through the prayers and gifts of caring individuals like you. And that's why your gift is so very important at this time. And as you share that gift with New Life Evangelistic Center of $10 or more at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri 63166, be sure you request your copy of Through the Fire. Yes, God is moving in a mighty way. New Life Evangelistic Center has not given up in spite of all the persecution. It's given it to God, and we're seeing Him now do exceedingly abundantly beyond what we can even ask or think. I ask you to continue to pray for us at the New Life Evangelistic Center as we're working to continue to bring you community programming like the Zaki Baruti Show and are out on the streets among the homeless, working among the homeless, distributing bus tickets every week and emergency supplies for them, opening up safe houses for the homeless, women and children, expanding training programs for the homeless. All of it is possible because of each one of you that is sharing that much needed gift now with New Life Evangelistic Center. So when you send your gift of $10 or more, please request a copy of Through the Fire. It's P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166.
How important are St. Louis Metro passes to the needy? To provide stability and permanent change to the homeless, they need jobs. But how do they get transportation to look for work when they have no money? And when they find a job, how will they get there? Become a part of NLEC's Metro Pass program and help bring enduring change to a life.
I have doctor's appointments that I have to attend, going to seek jobs and putting in applications. I really would like you to understand the importance and the need for this ministry, and anything that you can do to keep this ministry going. Please know that it is an extension of God's love.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Malik Ahmed. I think I interrupted your thought pattern toward the...
When you travel, you get a chance to see how much this world is dominated by people of color. And these people have some of the same characteristics that we have. They have the same sensibilities, they have the same struggles, they have the same oppressions, and they have the same hopes and dreams. And so when you start, when you travel, you get a chance to hear someone else articulate what you're feeling. And it's like, oh, wow. Or you may be able to see something else. I know one of the things that made me so interested in wanting to develop areas is being in the developed world. You see areas being developed. You see areas that weren't fertile. All of a sudden, they're fertile. You see areas that were unpopulated. All of a sudden, you see population centers. So you see the fundamentals of development. And development is really a simple thing. If people don't have water, if you can just put a pump into the ground and pump water out, that is beneficial to that whole community. Electricity, business, all kinds of things. In the development world, you see little small businesses, people having little small things that's sustaining their families and other kinds of things. So again, you get an idea of what you're capable of doing. And
so on that level, then 2 points. Mm-hmm. One, early on, you were saying in terms of you go to see in Africa, there's different areas that's undeveloped. Why would that be a motivation for folks to go? And then the possibilities of international travel not travel, business in terms of that as engaging the community here with that in Africa.
As African Americans, we are some of the most technically, intellectually smartest people in the world. So those things that we just naturally assume that, it's no big deal. You go into another country and it's a great deal. The know-how, knowing how just to organize people, to bring people together, to look at social issues, economic issues, political issues even. But let's stay away from the politics because that's so complicated. But economic, educational, social, cultural, scientific, IT, things that the skills that we have, we can go into these other places around the world and those skills can be put to great use. So I would say just in summary, it helps us to know ourselves better and to know our potential. And the other thing, and this is especially for African Americans, that in America, historically, we have been degraded as a people. We've been called niggers, we've been called coons, we've been called all kinds of things under names that is so reprehensible that it's not even good to utter. When black people go abroad, we are those names they don't exist. We are celebrities. We are people that the whole world is looking up to. People are imitating us in everything that we do, our dress style, the way we socialize, our sports, the way we even conversate, our rap music. Everything that we do in America, people all over the world, black, brown, red, and yellow people are imitating. So when African Americans show up, you're automatically a superstar.
In fact, you remind me in terms of the rapper, we were in Libya and traveling from one city to another, and our driver was playing some rap music from here.
Exactly.
But look here, because time is running.
Yes.
Look like I keep saying this might be the final episode.
Right.
We might have to do it one more time.
Right.
But going back to travel, specific places. Now, you mentioned China.
China.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. This was like 2002, right before they had their Olympics. Mm-hmm. So they were building. And Deborah and my son at the time, Shabazz, was around 10 or 11 years old. We took him to China with us. They were building, Zaki, 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. I mean, skyscrapers, all kinds
now,
of...
is this in Beijing?
This is Beijing. We went to Beijing.
And that's the capital of China for my people.
We went to Shanghai. We went to Nanjing. And we went to a city called Suzhou. Suzhou is the silk capital of China. So we were in a nice space of where we traveled by railroad 24 hours on the train.
Oh, that had to have been great.
And just to see how serious they are about development. We had a chance to see the tomb of Mao Zedong. And it's a rainy day just like today, and it was cold. And there was about maybe 25,000 people online in the rain
to see his tomb. And for our audience, Mao Zedong was the revolutionary leader who came into power in 1949
yes.
as an extension of the Chinese Revolution.
Exactly.
Who changed the whole society of China, which had been exploited
yes.
for years.
Yes.
And
yes.
now it's a power.
And
and I got to stop
yes.
you again. We got to have another break.
Yes.
An epidemic of homelessness is sweeping throughout the United States of America. In city after city, people are ending up on the streets. Now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, as believers, we can do three things. We can give, we can volunteer, and we can pray. We can pray for the homeless refugees that we're finding in one city after another, all over the United States. So many people ending up out on the streets, and the hearts of so many are growing cold at this particular time and indifferent to the need. Jesus said, as oft as you've done it to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. When's the last time you've prayed for the homeless refugees in the United States of America, appearing in city after city, not only in major cities, but even smaller cities? So many people ending up out on the streets, even in resort areas, places you never think you'd find homeless people, they're there. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but he, the Son of Man, had nowhere to lay his head. Please pray for the refugees. Please pray for the homeless people in America, and pray for those that are on the front lines, the first responders, reaching out through Jesus Christ among the homeless and hurting, whether it's in Springfield or St. Louis. Your prayers and gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center makes a big difference. This New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, is 63166.
If you can't receive NLEC TV on channel 24.2 on your TV, you can watch us on your home computer or laptop, anywhere in the world. Simply type in NLEC TV, then select NLEC TV support and click on the small NLEC TV on the right of the menu bar. Click on the play indicator to start the live programming, the same programming as 24.2. You can then enlarge the picture and enjoy your favorite programs like the NLEC Worship with Larry Rice, The Bernie Hayes Show, Experience the Benefits of Change with Pastor Burris, Conversations with Zaki Baruti, News and Views, and so much more.
Can you hear the music of creation?
NLEC TV is also available on all mobile devices such as smartphones and iPads. By getting the NLEC TV app, you can enjoy NLEC TV anywhere you go.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Malik Ahmed, and this was to be part 4, a completion of our discussion on international travel. But our cameramen say we got to keep on going.
Yeah, we got to keep going with this. Yes,
all right,
yes.
there. On that note, though, we were on China.
Yeah, so within the mausoleum of Chairman Mao Zedong is the whole parliamentary, or the whole seat of government. And then right across the street from that is the Forbidden City. And so on one hand, you go into where Mao is, and then across the street, you're going into the history of the Forbidden City and
So were you able to go into the Forbidden City?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely,
then.
yeah.
That's on one of my bucket lists.
Oh,
Okay.
it's amazing. I mean, and then just the building structures of China was amazing. But more than anything, it was going to the museum and looking at their history. And when they talk about the spring season, they're talking about a history of 500 to 600 years old. So they got the spring and the summer, the summer and the fall and the autumn seasons, and they're talking 500, 600, 700, 800 years. They are totally into their culture and their history. And so they put that into their development. They see themselves as, people that will, be major conquerors of the new world to come into being. So we had just a wonderful time just going to cultural centers and museums and looking at their technological development. And this was in 2002. Now they are the second leading economy after America. And so you can imagine just where they're going to be in 5-10 years from now.
So to that end, I've read different articles. Did you see any people that look like us there?
Yes, they're the people from up north. They have the Gobi Desert. Some of the Mongolians. The Mongolians are dark. They got big lips. They got thick nose. And some of them have kinky hair. Very much like, oh yeah, that's Bob, that lives on Taylor, the Mongolian people,
Right.
I mean, so it's, you feel the presence of 1.2, 1.3 billion people. I was just amazed. The public transportation system was really.
So bottom line, you encourage people to go to China?
You gotta go to China.
Okay.
You gotta go to China, because you wanna, and then you wanna start learning even Mandarinese and, Mandarin, excuse me, some of the languages of China, because that's gonna be one of the biggest trading partners in the world. And we need to know how to communicate with our Chinese brothers and sisters.
We're discussing international travel through the eyes of Malik Ahmed, who has taken us on a wondrous trip. I want to go from China to Central America or South America.
Deborah and I had the pleasure of going to Costa Rica and Panama. And the thing that is really interesting about Costa Rica, on the Caribbean side, you got a Pacific side of Costa Rica and a Caribbean side. And on the Caribbean side is people again, that look just like us. I went to a UNIA.
And you speak in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Right.
The last standing building of the UNIA is in Costa Rica.
And UNIA for our audience.
Universal Negro Improvement Association that was started by Marcus Garvey in Costa Rica and the area called Limon.
It's the what now again?
Limon. This is.
I mean the building.
This is a Universal African Negro Improvement Association in Costa Rica that is still functioning today.
Okay.
They showed me the first charter that was signed by Marcus Garvey. Most people don't know that Marcus Garvey was in Costa Rica before he came to America.
Wow, that's good. The historic tidbit. Again, we got to take another break.
Hello, I'm Larry Rice, Director of New Life Evangelistic Center and NLEC TV, and I come to you now and I ask you just to please pray and consider becoming a partner with us here so that we can continue to keep conversations with Zaki Baruti on the air. It's only because of the faithful support of individuals like you that we can provide this service along with a multitude of services to the poor, the fatherless, the widowed, the hurting, and the homeless. Your prayers, your gifts right now are absolutely essential as we confront gentrification in our community of rich and powerful people that want the poor and homeless out of sight and out of mind. We're trying to get 1411 open back up again. We can do that if you will help us. We can provide shelter once again. We're doing it in many other locations, but we need your help now to keep conversations with Zaki on the air and to help those that are hurting and need. And it's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Or you can discover us online by going to nlecstl.org. Thank you for praying, caring, and sharing at this critical hour.
And we urge you, beloved, to admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with all of them. See that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Malik Ahmed, we're getting ready to close out with a couple more experiences.
So the other beautiful thing about Costa Rica, they have mountains, they have rainforests. I went into the rainforest. It was a nice rites of passage. Deborah and I went there, and we were not too far away from Nicaragua. They have mountains, they have waterfalls. It's a beautiful country, as well as the beaches and the other thing. But there's so much history of blacks from Costa Rica that originally came from Jamaica that settled in Costa Rica and were responsible for helping to build the Panama Canal. And in Panama, is the majority of the country is black folks. In Panama, about 60-70% of the Panamanians are black folks. So when you go to Panama, it's a Spanish-speaking country, but enough people speak English that you can easily navigate the country. And, you know, being a native of New York City, you go to Panama City, you bump into people who lived in New York for 25, 30 years. And so, you know, my point in telling the audience about all of this, you'd be surprised all of the black Americans that are traveling around the world. And there are black American communities in almost all of these places. I didn't see too many in China, but there's African communities in China. Those students,
is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those students that came over from the 60s all the way to now.
Okay then. Well, look here, as we complete this series, is there we got about 1 minute left. Is there any concluding statements around international travel you'd like to share with the audience?
We need to tell the entire audience to get their passports. It's important that you go and get your passport, whatever it takes to do that, and make it your business to travel, because traveling will broaden your perspective. It gives you a better idea of who you are and what your possibilities are in life.
And on that note, you've been listening to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, and like always, join a progressive organization. Get your passport, as Brother Malik just said. See some of this world, and may God bless each and every one of you. And again, Brother Malik, I appreciate
brother,
the knowledge.
this has been a great pleasure for me.
All right.